let's go ahead and jump in with this very important question. I think, how much money do you need to actually enjoy your retirement years? Here's how wealth manager Charlie Epstein answered that question on TikTok.
You know, there's a lot of stuff about you got to have a certain amount of money, $2 to $3 million, in order to be happy when you reach your retirement years, or you got to make a certain amount of income. Let's keep it really simple, folks, because having a number like that, 2 or 3 million, for most people to shoot for is total madness. So here's a simple formula. When you get to your retirement years, 60, 65, or 70, you're probably going to need 70 to 80% of your current income. And you've got it. Repeat after me. The income replacement formula.
So he certainly makes it sound simple, but is it really the case? Can you explain how we are actually replacing that income in retirement?
Well, I think when we look at replacement of income, it's a matter of determining, what that income number is. So in their example, they said, 70% of pre-retirement income. I think it's fair to say that, Americans, retirees, they get used to a certain lifestyle. They get used to how they spend their money. Now, Chaz, I think, in looking at the planning process, as a certified financial planner, I think you've helped really kind of bring that question down to helping people understand, what is my number? What do I need to have to get that replacement income? We've talked a lot about the independent income system and the process that we put together, but Chaz has developed a calculator that helps you determine what that number is. And if you don't know what your number is, I would encourage you to get a hold of us at the office. You could schedule a time. We can run the independent income system calculator and help you determine what your number is. But what I would say is 70%, Chaz, I think is a good starting point.
Yeah.
But things that maybe it doesn't take into consideration, when you retire, maybe you're going to have your mortgage paid off. That could be a big part of the expenses that maybe you're not going to have anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're going to not be putting into traditional retirement savings account anymore. So, again, money that you're putting towards a 401k, you're not going to have certain types of taxes like the FICA taxes. So that number is going to be based upon your situation. And when you're figuring out, how do I replace my income in retirement, Chaz? I know there's a lot of advice and tips that I give, but what are some of the things that you're talking to folks about?
Yeah, replacing that income gap is really where we specialize as retirement income specialists, as compared to just accumulation specialists that really focus on helping you make the money and grow it. But it's a totally different ballgame, Nolan, as you know, when you start spending money because of the sequence of returns, the randomness of the market. And so the goal behind replacing income in retirement, to me, is reliability. It has to be something, an income source that we don't have to worry about it fluctuating. We need it to be available when we want it, and then it has to be obviously sufficient and we can create it on an ongoing basis. And so that might involve working part-time for some folks. I've had clients talk about maybe going back to work, just doing a little something. You have to be careful if you retire if you're taking Social Security prior to your full retirement age, how much money you can actually earn. Otherwise, the government penalizes you. But that's one way of creating the income. The other is through our independent income system. You described the calculator that we developed. And what that involves, essentially, it's a bucketed strategy where we're breaking your portfolio down into buckets, usually 2 or 3, maybe 4 different buckets. And we're going to use those dollars that we put into those buckets for a particular period of time. For instance, bucket number 1 is the cash and the savings that we're going to use to kind of for the first 5 years of your retirement. So we're going to use investments, with pretty low degree of risk, maybe CDs, bonds, money markets right now are back in favor because we can get great interest rates. So we're going to use that bucket for our short term. We're going to use the medium term, 2-year bucket to kind of get us through, the next 5 to 10 years. And those are investments like fixed income investments like bonds and dividend producing investments. And so one of the things that I'll talk about with dividends, we call them the inflation killer. Dividends are a tremendously valuable component to replacing the retirement income because you may not know this, but a dividend on the S&P 500 has actually grown almost 6 times in the last 30 years compared to the consumer pricing index, which is only doubled. So for somebody that was, expected to spend $4,000 a month, now, 30 years later, it's costing them $8,000. But again, a $3 per share dividend 30 years ago is now worth about $9. And so, combination of, the bucketed strategy, maybe doing a little bit of part-time work. Also, to help you bridge that gap, we're going to delay Social Security. We're going to use the vehicle that is, our most powerful financial asset. We're going to maximize that to its fullest extent. So to kind of bridge that gap, I know it might seem counterintuitive for folks, but we're generally going to hold off on Social Security, make sure that benefit grows as large as it can, give us that stable floor to stand on, and then, kind of work back from there and drawing some of the other assets out. So those would be some goals, I would say.
Yeah, so if you're wondering again, how do I replace my retirement income? I would say let's sit down and talk. What we can do for you in the specifics is, number one, we're going to help you address and assess your current financial situation. We're going to provide feedback for you in a team action plan, talking about the ways to maybe look for additional opportunities, maybe some potential threats that could be facing your retirement. Number two is we're going to set a retirement income goal for you. We can run that retirement calculator and tell you what your number needs to be. We can tell you also, with the amount of assets that you have today, what could be a realistic replacement of your income in retirement, and then how does an optimized approach help you out? Number three is we're going to help you create a retirement budget. Number four, we can take a look at your sources of income, such as Social Security, pensions, and your personal savings. And then number seven is start to talk to you about your investment strategy and approach and how to put it together to help achieve the outcomes that you're looking for. So again, that's something that if you're wondering, how do I replace my income in retirement time? That's exactly what we'd be happy to do for you and provide you that feedback here at America's Retirement Headquarters.
And it all starts with that phone call, 419-794-3030. The answer to the question, is it really that simple to figure out how much income you're going to need? Short answer, yes, with a big asterisk, a very, very considerable asterisk. For a more in-depth answer, you want to reach out to the team and start developing that plan for you, 419-794-3030. You can also find them online and schedule a time there as well, arhq.com.